Well, ultimately, there will be a change simply because he won't be there anymore. But I don't think that was the purpose or the goal. I think that is a fortunate sideline result to it. You said a moment ago that President Trump said America could strike anyone, anytime, anywhere. But you didn't complete the sentence. He said that he would strike anyone, anytime, anywhere if they were a threat to the people of the United States and the best interest of the United States. So that's only in the event that the United States is threatened. In the case of Maduro, what we saw was an organized effort, and the indictment, the Department of Justice from the United States had put out an arrest warrant for Maduro 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago, and no action was taken on it until now. But you don't normally put out a notification that someone is going to be arrested unless you intend to arrest them. So the idea that, unfortunately, the previous president doesn't in any way tie the hands of this president, President Trump. So I think what we see here, it depends on the who you listen to, but if you listen to some experts, there are 100,000 people a year die from drug overdose, from drugs that come in from Venezuela, from South America. If you listen to President Trump today, he said that number's 300,000. Either one of those numbers clearly is a threat to the United States. The Department of Justice says it has ironclad evidence that shows Maduro was leading the effort to distribute drugs worldwide. That's a criminal enterprise, and he will have to face a court of law for that. And not just that we'll strike our enemies. I don't think that's what he was saying. I think he said if there is what I took was that if there is an imminent threat, if there is a true danger to Americans, foreign or domestic, if Americans are overseas and they're in danger, or if Americans are on American soil are in danger, that this administration will take action to make sure that they protect American citizens. So I don't think it's randomly going to say, you're our enemy, so we're going to strike you. That's not how I interpret it at all. It's only if there is an imminent danger. The United States can disagree with someone and still be civil. That doesn't mean just because they disagree, Trump is going to attack them. I think when there's an imminent danger, I would give you one specific example where I would be nervous. If I was the leadership in Iran right now, what we saw last summer was the United States joined in the bombing of the nuclear site, joined in with Israel on the bombing and carried out the bombing of the nuclear site in Iran. Currently, there are protests going on in Iran, and Iran has threatened to use force to put down those protests. What I heard President Trump say this week is that he would be willing to step in and protect the people of Iran if they are endangered by their own government. So if I'm the leadership in Iran, and I just saw him go into Venezuela, he'd have my attention. I would take it even more seriously now than I might have 3 days ago. I think, again, we have to see how the things unfold there. If there are peaceful protests and those people are allowed to protest, I can't imagine that Donald Trump would suddenly unleash a violent military response. But if the world sees footage of violent action against peaceful protesters, it wouldn't surprise me if Donald Trump stepped in and tried to protect those people. What I heard President Trump talk about was making the people of Venezuela rich, making them wealthy, taking care of the people of Venezuela. And I think that's the important part of what he said, is that the United States would run the country, not long-term, not permanently. He is not trying to make this an American colony. He's just trying to maintain some stability in a period of transition. And what we see is, for example, when the Americans withdrew from Afghanistan, it was utter chaos, and transition went from one extreme to the other. And you had a number of people pay the price for that. So we want to make sure that the people of Venezuela don't suffer. If there is a change here, and what most of the world believes was the winner of the last election is actually installed, or if it's someone else, or if there's a new election, whatever the people of Venezuela decide to do, maintaining stability and making sure that the oil and the money from the oil takes care of those people in the meantime is clearly the priority for President Trump and for his administration. So I think having that long-term stability will be good for the entire region, for the entire world, and making sure that that oil continues to pump or pumps even better than it has been under the Maduro administration, Maduro regime, then I think that's better for the people of Venezuela. I don't know that we've seen the last of it. There may be action in other countries as well. But what made it unique in Venezuela is the president, or the man who was declaring himself president of Venezuela, was leading the effort to export those drugs. It wasn't merely going on in his country. He was an active participant. He was using his own military. He was partnering with drug cartels out of Colombia. He was an active participant in an organized crime effort to distribute drugs to the world, including in great part to the United States. So by cutting off the head of the snake, you can stop the flow of drugs from that particular area. I think in other areas, if government leaders are in the same position, I would be worried. If it's a drug cartel, that's much more difficult. The United States can't go in and, into another country and take one of their citizens without due process, without the cooperation of the government, and so on. So the difference here, to answer your question, is the leader of that nation was the leader of the effort to export drugs. No, I saw the words that came out of Russia today demanding that the United States immediately release Maduro and let things go back to business as usual. And I'm sure they'd like that, but that's not in the best interest of the country, certainly of the United States. I don't believe it's in the best interest of the world. So Russia has its hands full right now in Ukraine. And I think one of the reasons, earlier you asked about the United States running the country in the meantime until a new system is set up. One of the reasons you see President Trump committing to that is, as you mentioned, Venezuela, Maduro's people have an existing relationship with Russia. President Trump doesn't want Russia to go in and take over the drug enterprise or the oil enterprises in Venezuela. So by the United States running things until a stable, secure government of the people can be reality in Venezuela, you keep Russia out and you keep further chaos out. So I think all these pieces fit together. None of them were done individually, but they all fit together very well. I think it's a reset of the American policy, showing that peace through strength, as it was under Ronald Reagan, is the most effective tool the United States has. The United States military is bigger and stronger than any military on earth. And that is not the first choice. It is not a government that hopes to go out and go to war, but the fact that they're willing to do so if it's necessary is a warning shot. They asked Maduro. President Trump today said he spoke to Maduro twice in the last week and that he asked him to voluntarily depart, and he declined. So the United States took action. Perhaps when they talk to the next dictator somewhere else, that person will take it more seriously.